Hi, I'm Monica A. Coleman, and I'm the author of the Deena Project, a handbook for congregational response to sexual violence. Welcome to my Facebook fan page for this book. The Deena Project is named after Dinah, whose story is mentioned in Genesis 34. She's one of the daughters of Jacob, and in Genesis 34 it tells the story of how she was raped. And what happens in the story is we see all these things that happened around her, what her father's response was, what her brother's response was, but we never actually hear from Dinah. The Deena Project is a way of giving voice to those who have experienced sexual violence and ways to talk about how the church can be responsive to them. I'm a survivor of rape, and I really wrote the Deena Project because I wanted to be faithful as I was healing from the rape that I experienced. There were psychologists to help me with my psychological needs, and there were attorneys for legal needs, and there were doctors for medical needs, but there was really no one to teach me how to pray again. And I was a minister at a church, and I talked to my pastor about this a lot, and I wrestled with this, and I did a lot of reading, and I still didn't find anything that told me how could my church community be supportive in helping me to heal my spiritual life. Because that's what you do when you're a faithful person. You want to go to church, and you want your church to be able to be there for you. And I didn't think it was that churches didn't care. I thought maybe the churches didn't really know what to do. So I started this nonprofit organization affiliated with my church in Nashville, Tennessee, called the Deena Project, which was an organized church response to sexual violence. And in the book, I basically write about what the Deena Project has done. It's a real hands-on kind of book. It tells you all the nitty-gritty things you would need to know. So if you're just a person who cares and says, what can I do in my church? It tells you how to work with local communities, how to get information, ways to share information in churches that people can actually get to, how to do worship services, how to do press releases, how to do therapy groups in your church. And then I also tackle some of those really tough theological issues, like how do we think about our bodies and our sexualities in terms of our faith, and how do we think about evil and violence and suffering that people experience with sexual violence in terms of our faith. And then what do we do about forgiveness? We know that we should forgive, but how do we do that, and what does that really mean? So this book is just really close to my heart because it's such a personal book, and because I really meant it to be a book that could help just kind of people who care, people who have an expertise perhaps in sexual violence but don't get to enact that into their churches, perhaps survivors, for ministers, and just anyone who thinks that this is an important issue that churches should address in our community. So thank you for being a fan of the book. You can stay tuned to this page for updates on what's going on. As you'll note, I'm very excited. The book is in its second printing and has this great new cover with Whiff and Stock. So if you don't have it, feel free to just go to my website, www.monicaacoleman.com, and you can click on a link and pick up the book from Amazon. Thank you very much, and hopefully you are feeling empowered in your healing and in addressing the healing around sexual violence through our faith communities.